Dear students, good afternoon. This is Baji sir, English teacher. Previous class we discussed some information about the portrait of a lady. Today we are going to discuss a remaining part of the lesson, the portrait of a lady. My dear students, are you feeling better? Are you paying concentration? Very good. Now come to the point. The portrait of a lady. This is the lesson written by Khushwant Singh. Once again, half of the information is over. The relation between grandson and grandmother we are going to discuss in this lesson. Portrait means already we discussed in the last class. The life history of a person. Now in this lesson, grandson Khushwant Singh is explaining the lifestyle of his grandmother. Now, first part, we dealt with the relation between grandson and grandmother when they were in the village and when they were in the town. Now, so here when they were in the village, they have so much intimacy. They felt very happy. But whenever they came to town, somewhat the relationship was dwindled, lessened, decreased, reduced only because of the education Khushwant Singh was getting. Khushwant Singh started learning English and music lessons and arithmetic principles and physics, chemistry, all those subjects. But grandmother did not know all those subjects. That's why she was not able to help him in his homework. But when she was in the village, she used to help him because at that time in the village he learned only prayer and alphabet because grandmother was well versed in those topics. Now, after some time, Khushwant Singh got seat in university. Education of Khushwant Singh in university. So whenever he went to town after completion of his some education, he joined in university. So university, he was allotted a seat in the university. Whenever he went to university, room was also given to him. Lodging and boarding was offered to him in the university only. Then the grandmother and grandson who used to stay in one room, now he completely stayed in university. That's why the relationship was dwindled, lessened, because they are staying apart from each other. So grandmother already felt very unhappy whenever he learned that music lessons are being taught to the children in English medium schools. At that time, she stopped talking. Now, the relationship, the gap became more whenever he went to university. Then, grandmother took two activities. What are the two activities grandmother took for her remaining time whenever Khushwant Singh went to university? Feeding sparrows. And the second one is spinning the wheel. These are the two activities grandmother took into her life. So whenever Khushwant Singh went to university, there she started offering breadcrumbs to sparrows. Evening time, 4 to 5, 1 hour or half an hour. She felt very happy when she was offering crumbs to Sparrows. Sparrows used to stay around her. Some sparrows are standing on her head. Some sparrows are sitting on her elbows, on her knees, on her body. But she never felt tired, never felt uneasy by the activities of sparrows. Sparrows, when they are taking the breadcrumbs, they are making some sound. There is a bedlam, there is a confusion among the sparrows when they were eating breadcrumbs. And the second activity which grandmother took into her life is spinning the wheel. As she had a lot of time, as she was not talking to other family members, she took one activity, other activity, that is spinning the wheel. She is making a thread, she is making wool with which she wanted to make clothes. In that way, she spent her time without talking to others. Completely, she concentrated on spinning the wheel. Her common habits are, what are the common habits already we discussed? My dear children, can you say? One is telling the beads. Are you able to remember? Telling the beads. Telling means counting the beads of the rosary. Rosary already we discussed. What is meant by rosary? Rosary is nothing but a spring of thread. A thread which is sent to the holes of the beads. Beads are nothing but pieces of wood or plastic through which the spring, the thread is spent and tied at the two ends. In that way, he sages the people who left the world and praying to God, devoting towards God. They are counting beads. That is called telling roses. So, telling rosary. Her activities are telling rosary, and she was uttering the name of the God. In that way, she was praying. When she was uttering the prayer to God, it is not audible. So, because of these two activities, telling the beads and uttering, always moved by uttering the name of the God by moving the lips, she was devoting towards the God. Because of these two activities, we can say that she was a woman of religion. She was paying much attention to the prayer of the God. So here, Khushwant Singh went to university and there he completed his education. After that, he wanted to go abroad for further education. Going abroad for further education. Khushwant Singh, after completion of his education in university, he got promotion. He wanted to go to other country to continue his education, further education. So grandmother felt very unhappy because when he was university, he used to come after 1 month or 2 months or 1 week or after 10 days. But now completely 5 years he is going to spend in other country. So at that time she felt very unhappy, but she did not show her unhappiness in her face. Simply she went to railway station to give send off to her grandson. Khushwant Singh felt that grandmother felt very unhappy, but grandmother did not show any unhappiness in her face. Simply, she kissed his forehead and she gave send off. At that time, Khushwant Singh thought that that is the last physical contact with her his grandmother, because grandmother was very old. She had fuckering faces. That means what here? Her face is filled with so many wrinkles. She seemed to be a woman who is going to die within few days because of the old age. He thought that this is the last physical touch he met with a grandmother. But after completion of his education in the other country, again he came back. So at that time, again, grandmother went to railway station to welcome grandson. She embraced him. She felt very happy, and Khushwant Singh was shocked to see her. That means when Khushwant Singh was very in his childhood, at that time, how grandmother was with her folding faces. So many foldings are there, so many wrinkles are there on her face. In the same way, after 20 years also, same wrinkles. Once she was very beautiful, once she was young, she played all the games like children when she was in her childhood. Those things he was not able to believe because she seemed to be a woman who was born with wrinkles. 20 years ago, how she was, how she had been. Now also she is with the same face. And he also remembered his grandfather, husband of grandmother. That person also already he was dead. He passed away. His photo was hung on the wall. He seemed to be a person with 100 years of age. He has a long turban. The cloth which was turned around the head. And he had loose fittings, loose clothes. And the person also seemed to be a person who had a dozen children, grandchildren, and he seemed to be a very old, and he was not able to believe once he had a wife and a children. Such type of old age he was. So by seeing the outward appearance of grandfather and grandmother, he was not able to believe once they were young, they enjoyed their life, they had children, they had grandchildren. It seemed to be unbelievable. So whenever she went to railway station to welcome grandson, immediately she took her grandson to town. And actually, morning to evening, grandmother used to do uttering the prayer and telling the beads, counting the beads in the name of the God. But that day, a small change was taken place. What was the change? The change was without telling the beads, without uttering the name of the God. That evening, grandmother called all the women in the street and she started singing songs. The song is Warrior Came Home. And she took one drum also, which was in a dilapidated position, means destroyed condition. The leather of the drum was not in good condition. Already the leather became loose. It was going to be torn any time. She started beating the drum and she was singing and she was also dancing also. So here all the family members of Khushwant Singh, and Khushwant Singh tried to discourage the woman not to dance and not to sing because she was very old and she would become sick. But a grandmother did not listen to their words. She danced very much. She enjoyed herself with the dancing and singing and beating the drum. What they thought, like that, early morning, grandmother became sick. Here, immediately, parents of Khushwant Singh called the doctor. The doctor came and the doctor examined and he said that she got mild fever. That fever will be over within few days. But grandmother thought that this fever came to take me away from this world. This fever is not a ordinary fever. It would take me away to God. They were shocked. As she told them, then here immediately she stopped talking to them and started praying to God, uttering, moving the lips. by uttering the name of the God and telling the words. So here, when she was doing, after some time, immediately the lips which were uttering the name of the God were stopped, and the rosary which she was counting in her hand, it fell down. The hands became motionless. So as she thought, as she told them, the fever was going to take him away, like that she was dead. So she was able to understand what was the last moment of her life, because she was very devoted towards God. So some people only can understand when they are going to die also. So in that way, here grandmother took her last breath that day. So my dear students, what are the birds to which she was offering breadcrumbs? Can you guess? Can you say? What are they? Try. Yes, sparrows. When she was in the village, what were the animals to which she offered stale chapatis? Are you able to say? Can you remember? Yes, chapatis. So when she was in the village, there she used to offer chapatis. Whenever she came to town, she started offering breadcrumbs. So as usual, evening 4 o'clock, all the sparrows came to Khushwant Singh's house. They thought that grandmother would offer breadcrumbs to them, but already grandmother was dead. Whenever they came to the place where grandmother was there, by seeing the grandmother was, that means grandmother dead body was covered with shroud, shroud. Shroud is nothing but a red cloth with which the dead body is covered. Shroud, shroud. By seeing the dead body of grandmother, the birds thought that, the birds understood grandmother was no more in the world. That's why they felt very unhappy. They stayed. Previously, there was a change between the characteristics of sparrows when grandmother was alive, when a grandmother was on her bed after completion of her breath, after losing her life in this world. So when they came to get breadcrumbs, they used to make so much noise. But whenever they saw grandmother in that position, they stopped making noise. Khushwant Singh's mother thought that the sparrows came for getting the breadcrumbs. That's why she brought one bread and made it pieces and offered to sparrows. But the sparrows did not give any notice to the breadcrumbs. They sat there silently around the dead body of grandmother in the corridor. So many thousands of sparrows stayed there without making a noise. So because of that, not only human beings, but also sparrows showed their mourning. Mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. Mourning means lamentation, sadness, unhappiness about the death of a person, about the ill health of a person. What the emotion showed by the people and the animals and birds is called mourning. Here sparrows showed their unhappiness, lamentation, unhappiness, sorrowness towards the death of grandmother. They did not eat the breadcrumbs which were thrown by Khushwant Singh's mother. So we can understand that how much affection, love grandmother showed towards sparrows, towards birds. In that way, we can say that physically she seemed to be not beautiful, but at heart she was very beautiful. Once Khushwant Singh also mentioned that my grandmother seems to be not beautiful. She seems to be very ugly. She was short, she was fat, and she was full of wrinkles on her face. When she was walking, she had a limp in her leg. She was not able to walk. She was wobbling. Wobbling means moving uneasily, not able to move. In that way, here, grandmother lost her life in this world. So Khushwant Singh felt very unhappy. In that way, Khushwant Singh expressed his happiness, expressed his gratitude, respect towards the grandmother by writing the book, the piece of information in the title of the portrait of a lady. My dear students, I hope you understood the lesson, the total information of the lesson. Once you remind what we discussed and be thorough with the lesson, take care of your health. My dear students, listen to the words of your parents and take care of your health and give importance to your education, because nowadays we are facing so many problems because of corona. Take care of your health, take good food and good exercises. Thank you, one and all.